This is the ASICS Trabuco 14, and even though on the spec sheet it says there's only 1mm difference in stack between the ASICS 14 and the 13, there's actually been a complete overhaul of this shoe from top to bottom. I'm going to break down the key differences and specifications of these shoes, the pros and cons of these changes, and I'm also going to compare it to the highly popular Saucony Peregrine 16. So let's start off with what's actually changed. The stack is now 35 in the rear foot, 27 in the forefoot, compared to 34 versus 26 in the Trabuco 13. So yes, 1mm more cushioning and the same drop. But the big change is in the foam. The Trabuco 13 uses the FF Blast Plus, however we now have the FF Blast Max in the Trabuco 14. This is the same cushioning that you see in the ASICS road running range, in the Nova Blast 5 and the GT 2000 version 14. However, they've changed the blend of it so it's a higher density than what we see in the road running shoes. Both shoes still use the rock plate in the forefoot, but the geometry of the shoes have completely changed underfoot. The 14 now has larger sidewalls on the inside and outside of the shoe, between the heel and the midfoot. These come up, cradle your ankle and your foot to try and keep your foot centered in the shoe, whereas we had a much more streamlined approach in the Trabuco 13. The lugs jump in height from 3.3mm to 4mm with a brand new layout to increase the grippiness and the traction underneath your foot. And the fit has been completely redesigned overall. So now we have a narrower midfoot to give you a snug lockdown, so when you're changing direction, moving downhill, that really helps. But they've also broadened the toe box, especially around that lesser toe, so that baby toe, to facilitate toe splaying, lots of space in there, and really more of an anatomical fit, which is what we like to see in most shoes on the market. And even with all these changes, like the increase in stack, we've also got a reduced weight by 2 grams, so it now comes in at 281 grams versus 283 grams in a size 9 men's US. So what do all these changes actually feel like on the trail? Well, the change in cushioning completely alters the feel underfoot. The Trabuco 13 was a bit more focused on comfort, so it's a bit more of a softer feel, better absorbing vibration and impact, whereas the 14 feels noticeably firmer underfoot, but it's bouncier, springier and more responsive. You get more of a pop on toe, especially on compact trail or compact dirt. But the most important part is while it's more energetic, it also feels more controlled underfoot. The higher density foam doesn't collapse as much on impact. So if you're on uneven terrain, it really keeps you centered in the shoe as you move. So instead of feeling cushioned and comfortable like in the 13, it feels more planted and stable despite what's underneath your foot when you're running or walking. One of the biggest performance changes along with the cushioning is the changes in stability of this shoe. Those taller sidewalls and the more wrapped platform make a real difference when you're braking downhill, cornering or changing direction quickly. Your foot feels like it's more inside the shoe rather than sitting on top of it, and that gives you a lot more confidence underfoot, especially when you're dealing with more technical terrain. Compared to the 13, it feels a lot more secure and stable, especially when you're pushing the pace. And on top of the shoe, we have a brand new engineered mesh, which is more breathable than what we saw in the 13. From a fit and anatomical point of view, this is one of the best updates we've seen in the Trabuco, and ASICS have quoted in saying that they're going to try and use the same last or the same fit in all of their lines moving forward. The midfoot is clearly narrower and more locked in, but the forefoot is wider with more vertical volume as well, which can be really important. If you have a larger foot or sensitivity around the ball of the foot, having that extra space makes a huge difference. So you get a much better hold through the midfoot without compressing the toes. For people who struggle with forefoot pressure, metatarsalgia, Morton's neuroma, the rock plate combined with the wider fit, you're onto a winner with the 14. And in my eyes, it's close to the ideal perfect fit that we normally only see in Top Athletic or in the ultra ranges. So let's move on to the pros and cons of the 14 versus the 13, because there are some cons despite how much positivity I've given towards it. So the first pro is the cushioning, more responsive, more engaging and more fun to run in than the 13. Stability has clearly improved, grip is better thanks to the longer lug depth, and the fit is excellent. Snug where you need it, and properly accommodating throughout the toe box. Two main cons for me. The first is the geometry of the heel. So you can see it's less aggressive of a heel bevel on the 14 compared to the 13. So when you're descending especially, the transition through from the heel to the midfoot isn't as smooth as what we got in the 13. The second con comes down to preference. Some of you will have preferred the FF Blast Plus line because of its comfort and its cushioning underneath your foot, so it sinks in. So if you're someone who prefers to spend longer periods of time on the trail, you may have prioritized that comfort on the foot compared to the firmer, bouncier feel of the Trabuco 14. So which one should you choose between those two? Well, it's very simple in my eyes. Choose the 14 if you want more rebound, more structure, better stability, and more of an anatomical fit in the toe box. Stick with the 13 if you want a softer feel underfoot and smoother heel transitions when you're descending. So now they really do feel like completely different shoes, despite not looking that different on paper. But how does it compare to the Peregrine 16? Well, the Peregrine 16 actually became a little bit heavier compared to the 15, which was a bit of a surprise to most of us. It used to be a very lightweight and fast shoe, whereas the extra weight changed that altogether. Underfoot, you've got the Power Run foam, which is a lot firmer underfoot than what we get in the 14. So yes, the 14 is firmer than what we saw in the Trabuco 13, but the Peregrine is even firmer underfoot than both of these shoes. So it's much more snappier, it gives you much more kickback when you're running, especially on firmer surfaces. As a result, you're not getting the same level of cushioning or protection underfoot. The Trabuco 14 has that rock plate in the forefoot and it's extremely stiff. So as we talked about, it gives lots of protection to the forefoot, especially for different conditions there. The Peregrine is extremely flexible on the other hand, with no rock plate under there. So it's built more for agility rather than comfort and protection. Both shoes have 4mm lugs, but you've got the ASICS grip in the ASICS and you've got Vibram Mega Grip in the Peregrine 16. So the Vibram is renowned for being slightly better, whether you're on wet slabs. It just gives you that slightly better traction underfoot despite having a similar depth of lugs. And they're also built for slightly different use cases. The Peregrine 16 is more of a run focused, faster workout shoe, and the Trabuco 14 works much better as a hybrid. It's much more comfortable for longer trail runs, slower days or hiking, as that firmer, more cushioned midsole holds up better when you're on your feet for longer periods of time. Whereas the Peregrine is a bit more focused on racing and up-tempo workouts rather than a hiking shoe. So the short version of this, if you want a faster, more responsive trail shoe, look towards the Peregrine 16. If you want a very versatile option that can do shorter workouts, can do long distance up to ultra marathon, then look towards the Trabuco 14. And if you want that softer option underneath your foot, maybe you might want to pick up the Trabuco 13 while it's still on sale. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Which one do you think is best for you? Are you happy with the updates to the Trabuco 14? And if you're new to the channel, like and share and subscribing is really appreciated. Thank you very much for watching.